we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in over 40 years, where the stock market just finished the worst first half of a year in more than 5 decades. We are a nation that has the highest energy cost in its history, and we are no longer energy independent or energy dominant, which we were just 2 short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and Saudi Arabia for oil. We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world. We are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. We're a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against the opposing political party like never before. We've never seen anything like this. We're a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is about all you get. We're a nation where free speech is no longer allowed, where crime is rampant like never before, where the economy has been collapsing, where more people died of COVID in 2021 than in 2020. We're a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon and China to use the trillions and trillions of dollars it's taken from the United States to build a military to rival our own. We are a nation that over the past 2 years is no longer respected or listened to all around the world. And we are a nation that is hostile to liberty and freedom and faith. We are a nation whose economy is floundering, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the bottom of every list. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. But soon we will have greatness again. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. There is no mountain we cannot climb. There is no summit we cannot reach. There is no challenge we cannot meet. There is no victory we cannot have. We will not bend. We will not break. We will not yield. Ever, ever, ever. We will never give in. We will never give up. And we will never, ever back down. We will never let you down. As long as we are confident and united, the tyrants we are fighting do not stand even a little chance. Because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God and God alone. And it is time to start talking about greatness for our country again.
Welcome back to another night of Stick with Koolfrogg. AmericaShirts isn't quite here yet. It's all chant for him. Let's see if we can't bring him in here as soon as possible. Got some good stuff going on. Lots of fun stuff to talk about. Let's say hi to everybody here real quick. Hello, Princess, JMK, Ashley, Brian, and Kirk. They call me Rose. How's it going, dear? Gene, the best mod in the world. Short order cook. TR. Heck yeah. We got a good house here right now. Let's see if we can't get AmericaShirts to come in here. Come on, AmericaShirts. Where you at, buddy? Everybody chant for him. Shirts. 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 I didn't really want to go too far without him. I really didn't. I was kind of hoping that he would actually come around sooner than later. Hey, Brian, did he ever get a hold of you today? Let me know. Dwight, what's up, my man? The one dude holding down the Twitch end. Yes. There is somebody that is over on Twitch that's holding it down for me. He does a good job. Madcore just rated you. Nice. Good to see. Good to see. Love it. Look at all these people coming in here. Susie, Phil, Alan, Bella, Trucker John. Wow. Let's talk about prepping. What's going on? Lots of good people here. That's awesome. Mim Z. So many fun people. Such a wonderful crowd. I love everybody, every single one of you. This is so awesome that you all come and join me on a nightly basis. You out. I'm hoping that she's actually going to be around. At a like I said, big thank you to T in Tennessee. She actually went and subscribed on the local side and gave me a huge donation. Is very awesome of her. Thank you very, very much. When I see her come in here, she's going to get another thank you as soon as that happens. I haven't seen her yet, so as soon as she comes through, it's going to be great. It's going to be a wonderful thank you. They call me Rose. Tish is the best. She's really actually been one of my top supporters so far. Hello, Tilly T. How's it going? Yeah, there we go. There's America's shirt. How's it going, buddy?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing just dandy, I guess.
So, real quick, I just said hi to pretty much everybody in the room. We did have
Hi,
a
people.
raid. So then, if you look at the ticker down below, there's the Buy Me a Coffee. My PayPal link is there. My locals page is there. America Shirts locals page is there. I got America Shirts our first.com with the promo code. I do have both of our Rumble channels all in one pick. It took me a while to figure out how to get it correct. I finally figured it out. I got it in there so it actually looks nice. And make sure you check all those links out. One of your mods that are in there, probably Jean. She's already done it. There you go. There's the Buy Me a Coffee. There's the PayPal. Jean, can I get you to not throw the Discord link out for me anymore? That'd be wonderful. Thank you. I'd noticed that was going the last couple of nights, and I just kept on forgetting to say something to you. Phil says coffee's good. I'm gonna go make some right now. Great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Get yourself a nice big cup of coffee. Wake yourself up for the night. What's up, Kim? What's on?
Koolfrogg, you sound very muffled.
Do I? Oh, let's see if we can
now
change
you
that a
don't.
little bit. Okay. Yeah, it was just a little bit. My mic isn't. The boom isn't working correctly for me right now. I gotta tighten it up. See if that works. How's that for you?
That's fine.
Much better?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, much better. Okay. Sweet. Where's your super chat on? I don't have a super chat. I don't have 1,000 subscribers to actually have a super chat. I'm waiting to hit that 500, get that community tab right now. I'm sitting at about 444 today. The last I looked, it's gonna, it takes all of you to share my out, share it to
Who
all your
needs super
friends.
chats? You've got coffee buying and other things, you know.
Well, exactly. I got all those other things. Exactly, all those other things that are available. Yeah, super chats would be fun, but at the same time, not really, necessary. If you really want to donate, hit up that Buy Me a Coffee. Hit the PayPal if you really feel the need that the coffee isn't work for you. Hit up AmericaShirts or first.com, the most base shirts on the planet. Use that promo code that's available, and you can support him as well, because supporting me is awesome, but supporting him
it's
so
way
that
better.
he feels
yeah.
I just want him to feel like he's actually part of this, and you got to support him. You got to give him a little bit of something. Hey, John Apocalypse, how's it going?
Kidding.
I got quite a group here. I got a good 29 people sitting in the room. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Let's get the show rolling here. We're going to start with a little bit of fun. I don't know if I'm going to end it with fun, but we're going to start it off with some fun. We all remember this from last night. Liz Cheney learns that her fate in the primary election was called, and she actually, hello, Memento Mori, how's it going? She actually won her she lost her primary, so she's done. She's no longer part of anything. Other than the fact that there's a couple people that had made some comments that I found were very interesting. Here's Dinesh D'Souza saying Liz Cheney didn't lose because she took on Trump. She lost because she took on her own constituents. She refused to represent them. She came to believe she was better than them. She alone possessed and upheld truth. They, the voters, put an end to her delusional bullshit. Awesome words by the one and only Dinesh D'Souza. I really enjoy that guy. He's so fun to listen to. And for him to say such a thing is just great. So it's this Koolfrogg. I might fall asleep during your chat. Only got 4 hours of sleep after chatting with y'all last night. Yeah. Oh. I understand. It's okay. If you fall asleep, it's understandable. Everybody needs some sleep at some point in time. Brian says Dinesh is quite the guy. Says some.
No. He says Danish is quit a guy.
Yeah, he did say Danish, but I knew what he meant.
It's not right.
What do you got here?
Well, would you look at that? Would you look at
what's at stake today, Congresswoman?
Well, look, I think today, no matter what the outcome is certainly the beginning of a battle that is going to continue, is going to go on. And as a country, we're facing very challenging and difficult times. We're facing a moment where our democracy really is under attack and under threat.
What's
oh my God.
that's
it's
fun.
So perfect.
So then, interactive poll came through and they actually said Hagman defeats pro-impeachment Rep. Liz Cheney in Wyoming's at-large Republican primary. So then, Jack's post, we actually watched this yesterday because this is the one that AmericaShirts had found and actually pulled up. It's this one that I thought was hilarious. And that's why I'm like, oh, we got to play this off. And I know it's playing music, so as far as that goes, hey, goodbye. What's up, Dragon Man? How's it going? He's just gonna sit there and he's gonna dance through it or whatever. He's got the best moves. He's so funny. Hey, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, so good. I'm like, oh my God, that has to be played first. Maybe we'll play it last as well. But yeah,
oh, yeah.
Exactly, Germ. So na 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 na. The screen jumped way too fast for me. Wow. Y'all are lighting up my chat. Thank you so much. Divinity, how's it going, dear? See you. Blue Pearl, nice. Good to see you. That's awesome. Awesome to see. Awesome to see. I'm glad I got an audience here. So, what do you got here? Oh, yep. There you go.
I called her to concede the race. This primary election is over.
Liz, you're fired. Get out of here.
I called her to.
It's so great. It just keeps coming. It just keeps rolling out. Like every day, there's just more and more. Oh my God.
Well,
the never-ending stream of memes.
So some websites are calling it and some websites aren't calling it quite yet. Found it really interesting that Conservative Brief says Sarah Palin advances to general election in Alaska House seat. If you go and you look at numbers, it's still saying that it's not complete, but it's actually showing that she's actually some places are actually showing that she's actually moved up to that seat. What are you doing? What is this? Abraham Cheney.
It just keep coming.
Nonstop,
It's like 80 million
all day
of
long.
these,
So many
different
memes.
like different angles of Lincoln, like different things of Lincoln. They just like put her face on. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's all good. It's funny. It's so hilarious. But I found it very interesting that some sites have actually called this and some of them aren't. They're actually saying that Sarah Palin actually has advanced in the general election in the Alaska House seat. As far as that goes, when you actually get in here and you start reading, it says the special election of Alaska to replace the late Republican Rep. Don Young has been called by the Associated Press. So AP is actually calling it for her. They're actually giving her the seat. So as long as the Associated Press is, I really don't see any further looking any further than that than to say, well, it looks like she actually took that seat. That was the seat that everybody was very interested in last night. I'm still interested in the other seat as well. I can't think of the name off the top of my head now. It's totally vacated me.
The seat, the Senate?
Murkowski's seat. They haven't quite. I haven't seen anything that actually said Murkowski's seat was actually called for her yet. So, as far as that goes, it still looked like she was still leading her seat, but they didn't call it. So why they haven't quite called that one yet, but they're able to actually call this one is kind of strange and odd all at the same time, because you'd think that they would have finished them all around the same time. Other than the fact that they got this ranked choice voting, which could take some time to actually get through. Tried sending a few coffees. Don't know if it worked. I'll take a look at that real quick here in a moment. Can you see this? Or are you able to pull it up and I can go take a look at some stuff and you can read some of this for me? Is it too small for you yet?
Oh, well, no. I mean, I don't know.
Just wanted to talk about it. You don't even have to read it. I don't care. Do what you want.
Well, I was going to pull up the map, see what I can see from the map. But, I mean, do you have to go someplace? Do you want me to read something?
No, I wanted to actually go check this out to be sure. She wasn't sure if it worked. Someone sent me $6 2 minutes ago. If that was you, thank you very much. I don't want to give out your email address or anything else off of there, so I'll just go off of that. I'm assuming that's you. Okay. We'll see if she actually responds here in a moment. So then the special election for Alaska to replace the late Republican Don Young has been called by the Associated Press. In the general election, which is slated for November, the state will use ranked choice voting where the candidate to receive more than 50% of the vote prevails in the election. But if no one gets more than half the votes, the candidates of the lesser votes get knocked out. Any voters who use the eliminated candidate from the first pick as their second choice votes applied to the applicable candidates. The process continues until one candidate receives more than half the votes. In April, former President Donald Trump endorsed Sarah Palin, a longtime ally. Wonderful patriot Sarah Palin of Alaska just announced that she is running for Congress, and that means that there will be a true America First fighter on the ballot to replace the late and legendary Don Young. It's good to hear that there's an America First candidate there, but I thought she was done. I really did. I didn't think that she would have been amounted to much. What she had done, 6 years ago.
You're breaking up there, Koolfrogg.
Well, there's nothing I can do about it. Oh, well, it happens. What do you got here? You got there you go.
Got the map.
Got the map.
I guess I can zoom up here.
We're just doing a quick recap of last night before we move to better stories. There's a lot to go through tonight. Go ahead. To your map.
So that's what we got here. Of course, the map again is like, I mean, that's the whole congressional district state of Alaska. And it's in at 82%. She is winning out the other Republican. She is seemingly going to take this pretty easily. I mean, there's 26.8%, and she's got 31.1 there. So that's pretty good margin there for the Republican side for her to win that. So,
So then Divinity says Shirts broke up with Koolfrogg Live. Wow, I heard that. Why do you think that their top chat and live chat seems redundant? Yeah, I know, right? They should just stop doing that. Just do live chat. Quit telling us who's top of the chat. TR says, I thought that the House rep was a lower rank than the governor. Why would she do this? It seems a bit weird. I can understand the Senate, but not House rep. I mean, governor's pretty much, the head of the state, whereas, the rep is actually representing the state in Congress itself, so I mean, it's, I guess I don't see the difference in rank on that, whatever. I think that it would be pretty close to being about the same. Do I really seriously still sound like I'm up? Am I muffled? What's happening here? Let me see if I can't change some stuff, change some settings.
I don't think you sound muffled. Maybe you do to other people, but I don't think you sound muffled. But to TR Greater X there, I mean, John Quincy Adams went from the president of the United States to being a congressman again. He started off as being a congressman. He went to being president, and then he went back to being a congressman. So, I mean, it's whatever you want to do as a public service to the people. Well, as service to the people, your constituency, whatever, your constituency would be. So, I mean, she's been in office in Alaska, one form or fashion or another, for quite a long time. So that's kind of her natural habitat, as it were. But, she, I guess, just enjoys serving the people of Alaska or whatever. But it's not unheard of for somebody to go from, being like a governor or again, like I said, even the president of the United States, to being a representative again. And John Quincy Adams did that because, he wanted to have a representation in there for, there was anti-Mason party, the anti-Freemason party, which was larger in percentage-wise than the modern-day Republican Party, even for that matter. I think it lasted 4 years or more. And that was a big push, and he was there for that. And then, of course, he was there to fight slavery in the Congress, and that was one of the things he always put up every time he went into Congress, every time they went in.
You see this comment from Phil? He's like, 3 Republicans on that ticket, 1 independent, and the darn Democrat is still at the top. What the fuck? I mean, it really, when you think about it, hopefully those other 2 Republican whatever's their second vote
because the Republicans split
because of the rank choice thing or whatever would actually pile up on top of the other, and the Republican would actually end up winning that. That's the thought anyway, assuming that somebody that would have voted Republican off the bat wouldn't actually vote for a Democrat second, because that would just be some stupidity if you think about it. So let's see here. Let's move on to some other news. Move away from these 2 in particular, the Wyoming, Alaska stuff. We'll just kind of move on to some other stuff here. So this is this lady here, Michelle Vallejo, is abandoning her far left policies. Texas Democrat Michelle Vallejo won a bitter primary fight by embracing a slew of far-left policies Now the congressional hopeful is abandoning those progressive positions as she approaches a difficult general election campaign. I hope there's a lot of people that live in Texas that actually understand what's really happening here, and that though she's abandoning those off of her website, does that actually mean that she's actually abandoning those in her mind? Is she actually removing everything, all
right.
those thoughts, and actually moving on, or is she just trying to push her crap to actually get herself to where she needs to be, where she wants to be, and not screw everybody else and in the process? Because somebody that does that really kind of sounds kind of rhino-ish, if you ask me.
TR Greater X is asking, was it a special election in Alaska or a primary? That's the primary election that's going
Yeah,
on
that
there.
was primaries.
Yeah, there's no special election in Alaska.
What's up, Ashley?
Excuse me.
Copium, what's up? Good to see y'all. But somebody like this lady that's going to go ahead and she's going to actually push to remove her far left policies from her website. Is she actually removing those ultimately, or is she going to screw it out? Like it's really something to think about. Anybody that does live in Texas, I hope you're paying attention to what's actually happening, and you're not going to allow this crap to occur. So got my tabs out of order. That's not good. All right. Oh.
Jeez, Phil, it sounds like you're getting up for the day, or is this the evening for you? Jeez. Has a whole meal plan there. Yum.
That sounds delicious. Glad that we can bring you the news while
Right.
you eat such a wonderful meal. So this guy, Mr. Mike Pence, says he can consider cooperating with the J6 committee after Cheney lost. This guy's ridiculous. It's really something. It's really disturbing, to say the least, that such a person would do the things that he's been doing and think that he's all right doing so.
Jeremy said, if they were to call you to come and justify something, would you be agreeable?
Well, I would, if there was an invitation to participate, I would consider it. But you've heard me mention the Constitution a few times this morning. On the Constitution, we have 3 co-equal branches of government. And any invitation to be directed to me, I would have to reflect on the unique role that I was serving in as vice president.
Oh, so now you care about your position as vice president, but when it came time to consider that, you didn't give a shit. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It's only now.
It's only that, I'm going to consider my role as vice president. Oh, F you. Screw off.
Oh, okay. That's the shirts rant that we get. Screw off.
That bastard. I swear to God. It's just never ending with that son of a, you know what?
Right?
Oh,
Piece
by
of
the
crap.
way, Liz Cheney did an interview on the Today Show earlier. Let me.
Did you? So you're gonna play something out of order? That's awesome. Go.
Well, yeah. It's just a little bit of
thinking
news
about
here.
running for president. That's a decision that I'm going to make in the coming months, Savannah. I'm not going to make any announcements here this morning, but it is something that I'm thinking about, and I'll make a decision in the coming months.
Dragon Man, yes, he does have shirts for sale.
Yes, I do.
All you
I
got to
have
do is
shirts
hit
for
up
sale.
that website.
Yeah.
It's AmericaShirts.com.
Brian says Miss Piggy done been filed. Miss Piggy's looking so young.
I mean, and just it's in the news, so trying to get away from
Damn,
it,
if I
trying
would
to
have
walk
thought
away
about
from
it
all this stuff
a
is really
month
kind of
ago,
ridiculous.
maybe I would have put a T-shirt with Liz Cheney as Miss Piggy. I don't know. Damn. Anyway,
Well, you still
that
can.
time's over. Oh,
No,
hell,
it's
if she
not.
runs for president, what the hell? Let's do it.
Well, I mean, get it
More
out there
money
while you
for me. Oh, my God. Oh, yes, that's right. Here we go. Eric Trump with the Mar-a-Lago raid
with
revelation
the
about
big
the
revelation
tapes.
about Mar-a-Lago raid. Yeah, the raid of the Trump family home in the Mar-a-Lago in Florida has made news not just for the raid itself, but also for what is being uncovered as transparency about the search of the questionable protocols unfold. Eric Trump shared with Sean Hannity on Fox News about the raid and the aftermath as the American public responded to the FBI tactics. He said that the raid, that my father's poll numbers have absolutely gone through the roof. The previous night on the show, he said that people were trying to buy Laura a dinner to apologize for what the United States government has done to our family. I mean, you wouldn't believe the energy out there. I've been through all these firestorms over the years. I've never seen America more mad than it is right now. People are not buying them in the country. They're targeting Donald Trump. They're targeting his family. They're targeting everyone around him. The country is a very dangerous position. There's tremendous anger like I've never seen before over all the scams and this new one, years of scams, witch hunts, and now this. He said to Fox News, this is, a very long, drawn out comment that came from him, and it was very interesting to hear. There's never been a time like this where law enforcement has been used to bring to the house of a former president of the United States. And there is tremendous anger in the country at a level that has never been seen before, other than during very perilous times. People are so angry that at what is taking place, whatever we can do to help, because the temperature has to be brought down in the country. If it isn't, terrible things are going to happen. It says one Trump attorney, Alina Habba, said that the judge recused himself from the former president's lawsuit against Clinton this year when she spoke to Fox News host Jesse Waters on Friday. They needed a little drama, so they threw this out there. They got to the judge and had rescued himself in my Hillary case a month ago. I would like to know why he recused himself in that case. But when he was able to sign this warrant, I want to know that, she said. June 22nd, when Judge Bruce Reinhart recused himself from the Trump lawsuit against Clinton. Then 6 weeks later, the same judge signed the warrant to search Mar-a-Lago. In his recusal, the judge said, the undersigned magistrate to whom the above-styled cause has been assigned hereby recuses himself and refers the case to the clerk of the court for reassignment pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 455. The code he is referred to says any justice, judge, or magistrate judge of the United States shall disqualify himself in any in which his impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Sounds like he might have to actually disqualify himself and step down from his position if he continues to do what he's doing. I was stuck in a parking lot. There, you should know a lot there too. Collect paper and answer questions. The cameras are only off for a very short period of time, Bob said. Let's see. Will you still have the surveillance tape? Is that correct? Are you allowed to share that with the country? The host said. Absolutely, Sean. The son of the 45th president of the United States said that's why cops wear body cams. They don't tell you to turn off cameras. They want transparency. And we all know that they went and they tried to turn off all the cameras in the Mar-a-Lago mansion. So when you go and you turn off cameras, that's where you actually look. They look at you like, what are you hiding? What are you staging? What are you actually doing? And of course, we don't need to play that because we just pretty much read it all. Any thoughts?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I think we went over everything revolving that.
Yeah, but everything that we
did
revolved around or whatever seems to be an issue on Facebook on YouTube, and has been actually taken to the point of putting an 18 plus on it. So it's not being pushed out to the masses to view that particular night that we went through a lot of that. So to try recovering some of it, we're going to slowly try covering some of it here.
Well, for those of you, of course, that did watch that, I mean, they did go in and they did tell them all, again, plain clothing. I had to correct myself. It was plain clothing in the middle of the day. Come in there and they're just like, oh, yeah, we'd like to come in here. Here's a warrant. Flash it in front of the people. Walk in, go throughout the house for several hours. Nobody knows about it until somebody calls somebody else that calls Trump, Trump then calls somebody else, then Trump calls a lawyer, and then the lawyer lady, Christina Bobb, runs there fast as lightning, gets over there. What the hell is happening? They flash the thing up in front of her, and they tell her the warrant up in front of her, then take it away. And then, of course, a couple hours later, oh, okay, we'll just send it to you. We won't actually give you a warrant or a copy of the warrant or anything like that. Like, we'll just give it to you after we're gone. And that was as they were leaving, they flashed it in front of her face and they left. And then after they're already gone, it's like, oh, okay, we'll just fax you the warrant or email it to her, or however the hell they got it to her. But again, one of the requests was that, oh my God, turn off the cameras. No security cameras, no security footage, no nothing. And they did not comply. So screw you, people at the FBI. Again, abolish the FBI at AmericaShirtsAreFirst.com. Eat an awesome t-shirt and join the movement here, people, because we got to get rid of these bastards. But yeah, they had asked again to, have that camera footage be, taken down.
We're going to bring somebody into
destroyed,
the conversation.
Turn it off. We're going to win.
Somebody asked if they could join the conversation. So we said, yeah, sure. I'm saying, yeah, sure. He says he's all coffeeed up and ready to go. So this isn't the same person as last night. Fair warning. It is not that person. It is somebody else.
Somebody else.
Yes, it is somebody else. He wants to go hit that link. It's in that Discord that he just asked about. So let's see. Interested in joining. Let's see here. So then, of course, to go along with all that, Donald Trump is actually.
Looky there in the chat. I just got my first t-shirt order.
Nice.
Dragon Man.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. You are the honorary first of the first to order a t-shirt. Thank you.
He said he's going to be a few moments, so that's fine. So then I do have an article here from Trump actually calling the raid a spectacle to distract from Biden. These are Trump words, so it could be kind of an interesting article. One of the former Donald Trump's attorneys is blasting the Justice Department anew following the FBI's unprecedented raid on Mar-a-Lago estate last week. In an interview with Newsmax TV, Elena Haba said that the raid was a little more than a public spectacle to distract from the failed policies of the Democrat-controlled Congress and President Joe Biden. This is very normal system. President leaves, they declassify, and let's say there's something the National Archives wants back. They work with them to get it back. It happens all the time. It's very normal. Haba told National Report. What they have done is to take something that is incredibly routine, because in November we have a midterm election and the Democrats are not leading. We have inflation. We have issues because President Biden has really caused the problem with them. Even if there was classified nuclear codes, as they say, which I would be shocked, but even if there was, when you're cooperating, there's no need to send 30 FBI agents with guns into somebody's home, let alone a former president. It doesn't make sense. So this is going to be an ongoing ordeal, no matter what. You're going to continue to hear about Mar-a-Lago all the way through November, because they're going to continue to push these stories to let us know that, hey, this is what happened and this is how we feel. And, it hasn't happened like this since Nixon administration, so it's like when you do things, not always is it the best to continue to try, railing somebody like Donald Trump when you're losing. Only when you're losing do you continue to move on like this. Exactly, Trucker John. He says, who said anything about nuclear codes that probably change daily? Exactly. Why do we care if there's nuclear codes there or not? They're not new. They're not going to be able to be used. They're not going to believe that these are, legitimate codes. There's plenty of other things that happen before you're actually able to even use the nuclear codes. Nonetheless, even thinking you're going to use them anyway. Why anybody even think that they should use them? So then I think he's playing games. I think Donald Trump is really starting to play games with people. Because look what he did today. Trump takes his troll game to another level, starts endorsing Democrats. Yeah, it's like, huh? What did he do? Hello, Robin. How you doing? This is Donald Trump dealing with federal criminal investigation following the FBI's unprecedented raid in his home, but he's still out there having fun. Say what you will about the guy, but what's undeniable is that he's hilarious. That has display on Wednesday when Trump started endorsing Democrats. Here you go. Trump endorses Daniel Goldman. Lawyer Dan Goldman is running for Congress New York 10, and it is my great honor to strongly endorse him. I do this not because of the fact he is headed up to the impeachment committee and lost, because he is honorable, fair, and highly intelligent. While it was my honor to beat him and beat him badly, Dan Goldman has a wonderful future ahead. He also endorses Carolyn B. Maloney. I vote for Carolyn Maloney, New York 12, as I vote in the future. She is a kind and wonderful person who has always said terrific things about me. I will support me no matter what I do, just as I supported her very early on. She begged for a check with no quid pro quo, and I give it to her. In fact, I give her many. He's seriously going about actually, endorsing Democrats.
Master.
What's up? Let's talk about being.
Oh, hello.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
Good. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing good. We're doing good.
I'm doing great.
Good.
I got a t-shirt over here.
Yeah, actually, I just got paid. I might need to swing on over there and get myself a shirt.
There you go. There you go. Everybody hit up that.
Hey, you've backed
AmericaShirts
yourself
first.
into a quarter now. Now you have to do it. No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody do it. Everybody just hit it up. So then, just a quick little, you have to actually go over to Twitter to actually see
Twatter.
the actual GIF or whatever come over.
Aw,
And it
snap.
says, "Oh snap," because he's actually going about doing such things as endorsing Democrats, which is just strange and weird all at the same time. But he's going to go who he needs to call out and who he thinks is going to actually
Takes
be
the
right
troll
for the
to do
job.
so.
Right, takes. I just thought it was hilarious that he decided to actually do it.
Oh yeah, people have been saying to do that he should be doing that for a while, just to see how many of the Democrats throw those people under the bus out of pure reaction. I got to say, I don't really have too much to say that, for instance, the Babylon Bee hasn't already said about the situation or you guys or anything, but, I've said this before in past conversations, but, the constant escalation, from me sitting back, for years, I've always said, just from the prepper community perspective, so many people in it are, it's going to be war or an asteroid or, these big things that are, the kind of stuff that are in movies. And, it's a lot more exciting to think about preparing for civil war than it is for a slow decline into, whatever we're looking at, which is probably, very well civil war. But, we're seeing it happen on a day-to-day basis and seeing the baseline get changed. And that's the main thing that is surprising to me is, back in, let's say 2012, I was fully into prepping and all this, but most of the world, well, let's not say 2012 because that was a year when everybody was sort of thinking about apocalypses, but let's say 2010, right? Normal year. What were you guys doing in 2010? You probably weren't thinking about whether or not the country would drop into civil war or descend into hyperinflation. Well, after 2008, maybe, but, this is all these things that we all talk about that the average person is now concerned about on a daily basis. These are all things that were purely the concern of just preppers, and being a prepper was ostracized. It was, you were a crazy conspiracy theorist person. And so on one, from my perspective, it's like, not in a good way, but like, yep, told you guys, like, it's just sort of weird to have the crazy conspiracy theorist ideas of like, oh, one day, America might be in this situation with hyperinflation and, people. I mean, I used to say that I think one day that we're going to end up with balkanization in the states, where, different states are going to start being the place where you like guns, you better come here. If you don't like guns, you better go over there. And people called me crazy, and I was like, that's how the states started off. You used to need to speak German to even travel in some states, really, to even be able to get by and associate with people. Each state had their own, identities and things that they were about. And I mean, they started off as different nation states. That's what that means. So it's just crazy to me to see this escalation playing out and just being the topic of day-to-day discussion. My regular customers coming through the store, I never would have necessarily expected that just I'd be running a cash register and talking to people who I've dealt with for years, and for them just to suddenly start coming in and being like, oh man, it looks like we might be heading towards civil war. It's just like, I feel like everybody's almost gotten used to it being the new baseline. But, I'm not saying everyone here is normies, but I doubt that they'd have even ever imagined having this conversation a few years ago. And here we are.
Right. Right.
But
exactly.
But it's just
So-
one of the things I've always tried to remind people in prepping is just to always be objective about your baseline. It's very easy to get tunnel vision as your life changes, as the world changes around you. But one of the best things that you can do is to always step back and look at your situation objectively. It helps you to keep from pigeonholing yourself into one kind of response. So I don't know. It's always interesting to me to hear these kinds of things enter the conversation. So I always like to just remind people to step back and realize how crazy it is that these are the political conversations we're having. We used to, think of what life was like in the 90s and in the 2000s, even after 9/11. Life has changed quite a bit for the Western world over each decade. And then all of a sudden, in just the past few years, there's been a vast acceleration of the way that life changes. And things are moving very fast now. There's an old saying that I'm going to misquote now, but it's, sometimes a year's worth of stuff happens in a decade, and sometimes a decade's worth of stuff happens in a week, or, something like that. And that's only going to be more and more true in the modern age with technology and all this stuff. We really haven't seen one of these global things come to a head since World War II. And with the information age, it's going to be, we feel this thing building up. Well, it's the kind of thing that happens fast, and it's only going to happen faster than ever now. So that's your little reminder to take care of yourself and be ready for anything. But anyways, I'll kick it back to you guys.
No, you're fine. So then, Manchin had something to say about this Inflation Reduction Act. I know that we've covered this in the last few or whatever. We've watched a lengthy video of Joe Biden signing the act and handing the pen off to him or whatever. But Manchin had something to actually say about it. This is a little minute and 13 clip.
We're going to give people tax credits and rebates right at the point of purchase to buy energy efficient appliances, energy efficient dishwashers and washing machines and all those kinds of things. I think we should go ask the senior citizens who are now paying thousands of dollars for their prescription drugs, that if we cap that expense at $2,000, does that help them with inflation? I think they'll tell you that it does.
But one of the key negotiators of the Inflation Reduction Act, Senator Joe Manchin, told me yesterday they never claimed it would bring costs down for people right away.
Is it misleading to call this the Inflation Reduction Act for Americans when it's not going to make their grocery bill cheaper? It's not going to make everyday goods cheaper for them.
Why would it? Well, immediately it's not, but we never seen anything happen immediately. Like today, it's turn the switch on and off.
So the name of the new law, the Inflation Reduction Act, sure sounds like price relief is on the way for Americans who are struggling to pay for basic necessities, but they are going to be waiting a while unless you're in the market for something like an electric vehicle or a solar panel. You're not going to see those savings today. The healthcare savings are not going to come until next year. Harris?
Oh my God.
So Inflation Reduction Act is only going to help for cars and solar panels. Wonderful, because we all just have
look at
so
Phil's
much
chat.
money
Throw
to
that
buy
up.
that kind of
About Manchin there.
what the stuff that he said.
No. Phil in the chat.
Oh, Phil in chat. Manchin just stabbed every West Virginian right in the face.
Hey, have you
I mean,
guys ever
literally right there on camera. Right?
have you guys ever noticed that when you throw a really big rock into a pool for a minute, it looks like the part of the pool you're looking at has gone down? You ever notice that?
Say that again.
Water displacement? I don't know.
All right, when you throw a big boulder into a pool and the ripples go out from it, the middle
Is
of
this
the
going to be
pool.
like a turd in the pool analogy here? Is it?
No, it's actually an analogy for what they've done. They've printed a bunch of money and they're throwing it into the economy and saying, "Look, inflation has gone down in these sectors," and then ignoring the fact that whenever all the ripples settle, the pool has gone up, basically. They're throwing money at different problems because whenever you infuse money into the proper places, it results in a temporary decrease of apparent inflation. But the net result, as that all trickles back into the money supply, is monetary, inflation, more of it. It's not actually changing root causes that will result in the money pool being accounted for. It's just throwing more money after the problem and hoping that the flame doesn't keep ahead of it. But
Yeah, because at that point in time, after that gets done, it's like, oh, well, inflation's already made things so expensive, it's still the same price anyways. Whoops. I mean, it's just total bullshit.
M. Swartz says, did we expect anything from the Dems in Mansion?
Yep.
No, not really.
Anybody that had any goddamn common sense didn't.
W says, Snickers bar in a pool?
Yes, that's what that is. Yeah, that's exactly what that. Actually, no, don't do that. Don't touch it.
Leave the Snicker bar alone.
Right. It's like the advice that people give you to not eat yellow snow or whatever, Like, I give you that same advice with the Snickers bar at the bottom of the pool. Just don't.
I mean, arguably both are sterile.
Watch your eyes.
Just saying. That was
Don't stare at the
came a
screen
little
too long.
late.
Be careful what you're looking. You might hurt yourself. This is House Freedom Caucus calls for McCarthy to end Pelosi.
How would you hurt yourself? I'm just so strange. It's just, I love you. I was never harmed you.
Yeah. Sure you do, Nancy. So it says House Democrat leader Nancy Pelosi was first elected to lead the House in 2003 and has sought election of the office of Speaker of the House every 2 years since that time. Pelosi will be 82 when she next runs for office. If she does run, this will be her 19th term. That's how long she's been around. Been doing this forever. Since the JFK era. The next election for Nancy Pelosi, I hate how it says for Speaker of the House because the election's not for Speaker of the House. The election is for Nancy Pelosi. The Speaker of the House is appointed, not elected. So then the next election for Nancy Pelosi is in November of 2022, and it's not looking good for Pelosi. The coming midterm election
got it right there. Actually, they had another misnomer there. They said it was 82.
800.
Germs corrected them. It's 802. So thank you for that correction to the typo here in
Thanks
this
for
article.
the typo correction on there. Yeah,
right.
absolutely,
Thank you very
much. Let's see, where was I here? The coming midterm election is not looking good for Democrats. Short of some miracle, Democrats are going to get smacked with a red wave in November. Over 30 Democrats and incumbents announced their retirements, which is usually a clear sign of coming down. A Punchbowl news poll taken among senior House staffers found that 60% believe that Pelosi will retire after the midterm elections. Thank God. Go away. Quote from Breitbart says, the poll also sampled general House staffers. Among the typical House staffers, 54% Pelosi will retire. Congressional staffers are personnel that assist members of Congress and committees, answer constituent mail, write questions for committee hearings, conduct communication duties, and plot legislative maneuvers. Oh, so there's people that do it for them. Okay, makes sense. That more senior staffers believe Pelosi will retire likely comes from more experience and therefore carries more weight. Senior staffers told Punchbowl News Pelosi would not announce her retirement in the middle of the congressional session, but they do acknowledge she has previously said that this would be her last term as Speaker, because nobody's going to actually reappoint her for Speaker of the House, regardless to what's going on, because she's just horrible. 37% cited as their top priority see corruption, dysfunction, followed by 18% who said immigration, 10% who said healthcare, and 10% who said jobs and the economy. Republicans only need to net gain of 5 seats to regain House majority in the midterms next November. National Republican Congressional Committee Chairman Tom Emmer is very confident that Republicans will take back the U.S. House of Representatives. Thank God. During an interview with Breitbart, Emmer addressed Pelosi's leadership and the need for new leadership in the House who has the interests of the country at heart and not the interests of the individuals or members of their party. Emmer said Republicans are going to retire House Speaker Nancy Pelosi once and for all. Thank you. Please do. That's what we want. We want them to retire her once and for all. I'm not going to read the rest of this. You guys want to read the description down below? Because that's pretty much what we need. To actually get you to understand that Pelosi's reign is coming to an end very, very soon.
What she need is more of me.
Like 3 more months. This hag.
Because I'm
hag
cool.
that's done
Because
nothing
I'm
that
cool. I'm
pushed
hip.
crap
I'm
through the
hip.
house.
I'm hip like that. She's cool and hip. God also call the hip. She hip song. She's too. Also cool things.
She's done. She's done, folks. She's gone. She's no longer going to be a thing. The next bunch of things I actually have are about 3-letter corporations. There's several different 3-letter corporations that are doing several different things.
Everybody hide your dogs.
Yeah, right. This article was actually brought to us by Brian Manuel. He actually threw this at us in an email yesterday. This comes out of Surveillance News. It's a very interesting news paper, very interesting read. So reports say that CIA has been training the Ukrainian military since 2015. A recent report revealed that the Central Intelligence Agency has been training the Ukrainian military since 2015. The program sought to prepare the armed forces of Ukraine for potential conflict with Russia at bigger eastern neighbors. An unnamed former CIA official confirmed the training program at Yahoo News, which is launched after former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych was ousted. A select group of CIA paramilitary personnel were deployed in the Donbass region in 2015 for twofold purpose. The first mission was to determine how the intelligence agency would best help train Ukrainian soldiers to fight against the Russians and their allies in the separatist region. The second mission was to test the Ukrainians' backbone, and the CIA personnel said that the counterparts in the Eastern European country would indeed ready for battle. The CIA official said the question was, are they going to get rolled or are they going to stand up and fight? According to the former... Go ahead.
At that first sentence there, they said they were deployed in the Donbass for twofold purpose. Now, again, the Donbass in 2015, they had already separated from Ukraine themselves. The Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics there, they separated from Ukraine. So to be deployed into that area and be like, oh, we're going to help the separatists, right? First mission was to determine how the intelligence agency could help best train Ukrainian soldiers to fight against the Russians and their allies in the separatist region. So they're actively there helping to assist in the goings of boom boom by the Ukrainians to civilians over there, because that's what happens. So go watch my Rumble videos there.
I gotta say, I'm not the least bit surprised that this comes out, just because you don't exactly just get weapons shipped to you and suddenly be using them effectively. And we've seen, like, honestly, like, far too effective of a resistance on the Ukrainian side for there not to have been. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a prepared resistance, but uh, guerrilla resistances don't just come out of nowhere with this level of expertise, you know. So it's pretty obvious that they had a pretty, I mean, for how corrupt their military is supposed to be, um, for them to, I mean, it's pretty obvious that they've had pretty advanced, lopsided warfare training. And for us to be able to just send these artillery units across and they just go ahead and pick them up and start using them effectively, it's pretty clear that at least some of the people there have been trained on these, because someone knew that this is what we would send them if we needed to. So they've got, at least enough, officers, I guess you could say, who were trained by our guys, who are able to go, oh, hey, this artillery unit, I know exactly what to do with this. So,
and it's interesting that you can basically see that, because in the Donbass region, the CIA can't just do overt operations with military soldiers and just go through, you know what I mean? Like training people like right in there, because they were a separatist region. So this has to be a covert thing or an overt boom boom against them, if you know what I'm saying, and blow up
and
the
also,
boom boom.
I mean, they almost certainly will have inducted former Ukrainians who have come to America. They get visited. Hey, how would you like to help Ukraine? And all of a sudden they've been received some degree of training and been sent over there to do this. I mean, all you have to do is train a person how to use, like I said, you're training people how to use drones. You're training people how to use artillery. You pick up a Ukrainian, maybe a former military guy who made enough money to make it over here, say, how would you like to go back to be able to, and so that guy now can just, he's never actually been officially tied to the CIA. He can just stay there, and there's no actual, there's that plausible deniability. He just reincorporates into the Ukrainian military. Right. I'm sure there's tons of that.
Real quick, so then Brian Manuel says Obama started the program when he was in Senate for the biolabs and sent an assload of money there, and then became president, not even in a full Senate term, and done the bailout program. So that's an interesting thought.
Oh, we've had that. Go to my Rumble. I have a whole video
right
about even before. I mean, it's Ukraine has been bad for quite a while now. Of course, I think Brian pretty well understands that, but just for everybody else that
yeah, Brian
hasn't been around for that earlier on.
Probably as good as any, right? Phil says it's pretty obvious the entire Russian war is part of the globalists like Soros, the Clintons, and the whole elite swamp crew worldwide, destroying the working class food supply. Brian Manuel says now Trump pulled the strings on the re-up on the Ukrainian deal and screwed them. We see now what they are doing. What in the world is this? Hold on, I got some. I got somebody hit me on another end of the world here, real quick.
And I'm as conspiratorial as anyone when I'm talking online. I find it's effective to try to find the Occam's razor approach to things. What's the least necessary thing to explain all this? And when it comes to a globalist agenda, I absolutely believe that there is one. I tend to try to look for convergence, rather than conspiracy. By that I mean, most people find it more approachable if you say that all of the elites simply have converging interests. They don't actually, and they do meet in smoky rooms. I'm sure that there are plenty of Russian billionaires who meet with American billionaires in Dubai and stuff like that. And discuss how nice it would be if this thing happened or whatever.
Oh my God, they had a huge meeting there, and I think it was Dubai, right? The World Government Summit, where the lady got up in front of all of these people. She says,
"Oh yeah,
who's ready for a new world order?" And they all go, "Yay!"
Yeah,
all clapping. It's like, oh, thanks.
Well, and a bunch of them really believe
Headed
it. I
up
mean,
by the
they've
World
been,
Economic Forum.
yeah, exactly, and they really, they're off in their own world, quite literally. They've been, many of them, most of them have been raised quite literally with their drunk, mother being like, "Oh well, we are different than them." When you're raised with this kind of power and this kind of money, you have different responsibilities and things you must think of. So they really do see themselves in it. And so it doesn't even need to be some dark conspiracy for them to be off on their completely different track and conspiring to some degree, but also sort of thinking that they're righteous in what they're doing. So when you sort of start thinking of it as a bunch of people thinking that they know better and just doing what they're doing, then it becomes a lot more obvious that it doesn't even need the big conspiracy, even though it likely is there. And when it comes to the global reset and everything, that, like I said, I've been in different parts of the conspiratorial realm for a while, and it's been more than 10 years since I thought that we were well overdue for a great reset where they can't possibly keep building this debt up without hiding it, and they do successfully continue to do so. But the convergence theory for me on the global reset is, it's been far too long that we've had the fractional reserve stuff going on and all this, and you look at the scope of history, it's nearly impossible to have aggressive economics without eventual resets. You need to have very careful moderation of an economy to not have these. And if nothing else, then we are definitely seeing every elite person and all powers in the government positioning themselves for, an obvious reset. It doesn't even need them to be doing a great reset for us all to see that that's inevitable. So for me, and I guess my prepping little plug here is, you need to be doing the same thing that they're all doing, because whether or not they're conspiring against us, they are positioning themselves to make it through the reset. Whether or not they're triggering it, there is going to be a depression. And it's hard to say when, but if you look at the scope of history and ask
It's probably
yourself,
going to be in the fall.
it's probably going to be any time. But the reality is, you have to ask yourself, do economies go through depression cycles? And if the answer is yes, have we done what we need to do to avoid the next one? And the answer is no. So you need to be doing the same thing the elites are doing, and at least positioning yourself to not be screwed over by it.
Now, what is this video? Is this a training video that they released?
So this is just sent to me by Meme Copium. He's like, this is actually Ukrainian drops a grenade into a Russian.
They're doing this effectively, but it's incredibly sketchy what they're doing. They're taking quadcopters, and the quadcopters have a hook release mechanism on the bottom of it, and they're attaching. They put a grenade. Well, they have different methods, but the riskiest. They're taking, the one I've seen is they're taking a plastic cup and putting a hand grenade in it, pulling the pin on the hand grenade, and then hanging the cup from a copter, so that when it drops the cup from its little hook release, the handle on the grenade flies off, and then it falls and drops. And then they have these other ones that are basically a mortar that's been rigged to be armed. But they're just flying these things over places and dropping them on squads in trenches or in tanks like this.
They're Dragon Man shirts. When will the Ukraine thing end? Whenever they get done dumping our money over there, because they already recognize they've lost. Most of the elite people have already kind of recognized that now, because there was kind of a fracturing there for a little bit of time, like oh my god, I just forgot his name. Kissinger types. Then you had the Pope, even, for God's sake, and some of these others. They were out and about and around being like, yeah, we need to stop this. This is kind of foolish. This is kind of whatever. And this was back at the World Economic Forum meeting in Davos a couple of months ago or so. And at that time, like I said, they were seeing ahead of this, and they were like, yeah, this isn't going to work out the way we thought. Like, no, we got to stop. And there was a little bit of resistance, a little bit of, I don't know, but everybody now is following in line, following in suit, following in lockstep, and they're all starting to call out things in Ukraine and everything else. And, oh, this is happening here. Ukraine's responsible for this thing and this thing now and this thing. So they're moving away from Ukraine. Now, how long exactly will they do it? I don't know, but they're backing away from it now because it's not at all working out the way that they thought. Because we're dumping all kinds of money and weaponry over there. And every time we try to get another shipment of weaponry in there, Putin just sends off a rocket and blows it all to hell. So, like, it's not even reaching them. So, like, they can't even get the new weaponry stuff. Some of it, right? I mean, on the ground, maybe if they do it in cars or whatever, it's kind of like, very strategically, they get the guns in there or whatever. But like big weaponry and howitzers and things like those things are just getting blown up. So they're going to be done with Ukraine here. I don't know. After several months.
It should be really soon, and I would almost assume that they would actually liberate the Donbas regions and release those to hopefully be their own entities as opposed to being part of either the Ukraine or Russia.
Well, they made requests to be a part of Russia.
Well,
I mean, all of them have made requests to be part of Russia. I mean,
doesn't mean that's what's going to exactly happen. We have no clue what's going to happen next. So, I mean, it could greatly be that way where they would actually, just encapsulate those areas, leave the rest of Ukraine alone. Or, there's plenty of different options that they could actually go off because obviously they want that access straight to Crimea. They're not going to release Crimea. The Crimea is always going to be Russian controlled. We all know this. It's been Russian controlled for the longest time. For them to actually release control of Crimea and or the Donbass region is probably non-existent, but they could actually liberate them to actually be their own. If our government and the UN feels that that would be best because it's not always a one-sided thing. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen next. So
I mean, if Meteor could come down and bust in your roof there, Koolfrogg, and say hello to you, but I mean, I think we all kind of know.
But we don't, because there's no way that we can make that prediction that that's exactly what's going to happen, because we don't know what's going to happen next. It seems as that could possibly be an option, but there's plenty of other options that are there. And because
I mean,
it's been talked
0.01%,
Well, you never know, right?
So you're saying there's a chance.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, yet again, it's but the majority of people, it really doesn't matter. If it is an asteroid or most other things, we need food, water, air, security, medicine. So, we can talk about all this stuff and absolutely we should, but bringing it back to my MO, you're going to need to take care of yourself. So there's basic things that you can do that actually, something I learned a long time ago during my conspiracy phase, where I was really invested in learning. This was during the Obama administration, when there was a lot of stuff going on then that was very suspicious looking. He wrote in a lot of executive orders that basically spell out martial law. So the big thing that, Alex Jones and people like him were talking about was these executive orders are what you would need to lock down the country and take everything. I mean, basically little note cards that they can approve that allows them to seize property or lock down transportation. These are things that were used during, the past couple of years to implement a lot of the lockdowns and stuff. So I got burnt out. I mean, that's something that you face whenever you are sort of chasing down all these rabbit holes, and it's hard not to. It's addicting to be constantly vigilant and watching all these red flags pop up and following them. But it is actually something that it is a psychological warfare tactic to overload the populace with these constant shootings and all this stuff to keep us in a constant state of threat, basically.
Terror.
So yeah, exactly. And I've always
Terrorista.
advocated, yeah, it is it's part of, I mean, 1984 in the book, it literally is written in there that you need to keep the people in a constant state of seeing a different threat. That's why they always had these fake wars with the other fake nations, is to keep people in a constant state of tribal us versus themism. They can never sit back and ask objectively what the reality of the world is, because you're always being bombarded with this new thing that you need to be worried about.
Russia.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Russia. Excuse me.
Exactly. And then there's as soon as that goes away, there will be something else. And so that's why I've always, a lot of people see prepping as I mean, it's obviously sort of a fear/security reaction, but a lot of people and a lot of preppers do. They are prepping in a state of hypervigilance, and I suggest that you see prepping as a way to relieve that hypervigilance, because all of this news cycle and threat awareness, that's causing the hypervigilance. That's a source of stress. I see prepping and being prepared as a source of security. I go open my pantry and I can look at my food and say, as long as I don't get separated from this, I have food covered. I can look at my weapons and say, as long as I don't get separated from this, I have security covered. And you go down the checklist of these things that, and you can basically say that unless someone takes these things from me, and I'm going to do my best to keep that from happening, then I have these things covered. And these threats and these concerns that I'm keeping track of, they are things that I should be aware of, but it's not out of a place of fear. It's not out of a place of what's the thing that's going to get me. It's just vigilance. It's being aware and knowing what you need to know, but it's not because you're prey hiding in the corner looking out for the thing that's going to come get you. You've done what you can so far to put yourself in a position of advantage. And so all of this vigilance, keeping track of this stuff, is no longer a source of constant stress. Am I going to get nuked? Well, if you do get nuked, at least you're in as good of a position as you could possibly be. You're not just helplessly watching these world events and not doing anything about it. And there's some things that we can do. We should definitely be involved locally, politically, all these things. But just sitting here on the audience in YouTube land is not putting us in a better position. So if you feel helpless or any of this stuff just feels like you're constantly just, chasing it to watch as it happens, then if nothing else, then you can go out each time you have some money and get some rice packets or whatever you're getting, and we can talk about that at some other time.
I've been doing when we had our. Oh, well, finish your statement, sorry.
Oh, well, I was just saying, even just buying a flat of water bottles and tucking it in the corner of your closet until you have just a shit ton of water. If nothing else, then that's something you can do to give yourself some sense of control over what's happening in your world, basically.
So,
Yeah.
real
And I've
quick,
been
there's a couple
following your advice.
interesting comments that are coming through chat that I'd like to actually point out real fast.
But let me address what he just said, because I've been doing this because I've been following his advice, because I noticed myself that I wasn't stocking up on some things that I needed, and so I've been going off and getting some lovely big bags of rice and like these lovely big containers of organic extra virgin coconut oil.
Nice.
So and I've been using that myself too. So like I get it, and then I use whatever I
yeah.
use. But I, every time, like you were talking about, like you go into the store, you have some extra,
I've pretty
like,
much
buy or
done
two,
the
3
same.
things.
The last couple times I hit up the Walmart, I bought myself a couple big bags of rice, whatever, because it's like, oh, let's just add this to the list real quick,
And it's all
that way it's
non-GMO.
there, right? It's all super easy to keep around and stock up on. To 'cause if
Yeah.
something goes down, you're gonna need it.
And again, growing your own food, I mean, that's fantastic. It is good for the soul. It is good for you, and it tastes great. Like I got pumpkins coming up, and I'm growing them vertically, and they're just like popping off all over the place. Like, oh, there's all these little like green pumpkins that just keep like swelling up every day. These like seem just like popping off all over the place. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I get green beans everywhere.
So then, to stay with the stuff
yeah.
that we were talking about with the Ukraine,
Good
so
stuff.
then Phil had said something to Madcore that says some of these are CGI or CG videos, and have to look really close to see if they're real. Yeah, potentially, but I don't really see that being that footage. I mean, if you can actually debunk it, sure, go ahead. Otherwise, it's very interesting how accurate they actually really are. Let's see here. M Sports says, we have not made requests to be part of Russia. Never will. If Zelensky does this, he's done. So now here's the thing, that's our resident Ukrainian, actually, giving us some information from her side and her thoughts. Let's see here. So then,
well, I never said that.
She continued to say, I can't make much more of one source theories reflection on Koolfrogg, which is awesome. Trucker John says Ukraine is going to take back Crimea. Okay. Interesting thought. You guys have anything that you want to say about that?
That last comment, no. That's probably not happening.
I really pointed that out, that Crimea has been Russian controlled for how long? I doubt they'll ever give that back.
I mean, they
in any
voted to
sort
go
of way.
back. I mean, go to Russia, but the
To
Donetsk
go along
and
with
Luhansk
that,
region.
though, because M had said something about that Ukraine won't do it, otherwise, Zelensky's done. Well, I mean, do they have a choice? Because they continue, eventually they'll just take up the whole thing. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, where do you draw the line? And I'm not saying that you have to give up territory, but at the same time, at some point in time, you have to line and actually be like, all right, fine. Either they liberate them or they turn them into Russian states, or they do something with them. I just don't see those two areas staying with the Ukraine. I really don't. There has to be something some kind of line that has to be drawn for them to actually stop fighting. Otherwise, they're going to continue to fight.
Yeah, and I never said that like the entirety of Ukraine has asked to join Russia. I mean, like that, I've never said that. I said the Donetsk and Luhansk republics in the Donbass, they've made formal requests not only for Russian aid, but to actually become part of Russia permanently. So that's what I was saying. I wasn't saying like the entirety of the country.
No, but I mean,
and again, my videos
eventually somebody has to
opposition
draw
of
the
that.
lines to actually where they, where the war actually, where the fighting stops and what happens next.
I mean, because it's pretty clear they've already lost militarily. I mean, they've almost taken out like well over like 2/3 of their military. I mean, they're they almost have nothing left really, other than just trying to arm a bunch of people on the ground and just have them charge at the front line. I mean, like that would be just crazy. I mean,
right. I have to say thank you to Tilly. Thank you so much for the 20. That's great. Thank you so much. Not to stop you guys from talking, but I do have to thank you.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, it's
Oh,
sort
there
of
you
like
go,
what
Mike
Schwartz was
Cohen,
saying.
Mike Gohagan, right there. There's the answer, right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm kind of far up in my readings because I was all the way back still reading those. There's a lot of comments that have come through since.
Yeah, there's
And
a
I'm
lot of
just
there's a lot
skimming
of
through 'em. I don't
conversation
want
back
to,
and forth.
right? I don't want to, do anybody disservices by not reading their stuff, whatever. I'm trying to skim through it, something, that's catching my eye that I feel I should read. Whose did you actually, Shirts?
Mike Gohagan. I think it's how you say it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Gohagan.
Mike Gohagan.
Yeah,
NATO
Gohagan.
will fight till the last Ukrainian.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. They do not
Right,
care.
because they don't care. They're going to continue to do what they need to do, and that's why any diplomacy that comes out of it, where they could actually draw that line to actually create something to stop the war, it would be almost, you'd think they would actually take any form to actually stop what's going on, but we don't know. None of us really exactly know. We're all just drawing conclusions off of the stuff that we're reading and what we're seeing. Some of us have a little bit more time to actually do the reading and do the research on it. And that's why you go to AmericaShirts Rumble page and you check out the stuff that's over there to see what's actually happening.
I have a
on
polenta
that side of
over there.
There's lots. There's so much information over there.
Yeah, I mean, like Schwartz was saying, it's one source speculation doesn't really do too much good, and there's really nothing most of us can do with the fog of war. But yeah, I mean, short of Russia, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's a very distrustful situation, so I think it's easily possible that we see something like a DMZ situation. I mean, the Korean War has never actually ended. It's been in ceasefire this whole time. So we could easily sort of see a never ending, never a call for the end of hostilities, but sort of a generally recognized standoff or something. I mean, it's hard to say. It's impossible to say, really. But, it could easily end up being a long drawn out thing. There's nothing stopping that.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and like I said, Native people is already dialing back on a lot of the stuff with Ukraine, and they who was it? Was it Lithuania, right? That cut off Kaliningrad, the railroad. They cut it off there for several weeks, and then I mean, we talked about that a little bit, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, holy crap, that'll lead to some kind of a full-blown war between NATO and Russia," and then they flipped that back on, and they let Russia go through now again. So, yeah, I mean, they're dialing it back. I'm gonna say probably by the fall, whenever the crap hits the fan, the diesel engine oil runs out in large part, and stuff starts to go crazy a little bit. They'll probably pretty well stop talking about Ukraine. They'll probably do some, operations there, other different things, whatever, because we don't like the Ruskies, NATO and the Americans and so forth. But after a good bit of time, it'll probably be out of the news by that point, probably by the elections and whenever some of the crap starts to hit the fan. Like I said, hopefully it doesn't get too god awful, but I can definitely see there being at least the start of depression, if not depression itself, by the fall or into the winter.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to be the black pill, but maybe not depression, but we are. I mean, again, step back and look at the baseline. Let's be objective about things. The shelves aren't empty, but I work in a form of retail. I sell alcohol, I sell beer, wine, and cigars. So the major beer distributors, think Budweiser, Coors, Keystone, those people, they are always out of some form of something. It's largely because of packaging. They can't get this kind of bottle or that kind of thing. But we're past the point of it's like any single issue thing. At one point it really was just lockdownerism and all these, and labor issues because of that. But the people who aren't working, the places that can't find people, the supply issues, those aren't just directly because of one cause anymore. If you don't feel like you can sort of understand what it's like to live in Soviet Russia or one of these places where there's food lines and all this stuff, in a very small way, not obviously as bad as those places, but um, if you can't step back and say, are we really living in this, is America as abundant as it should be? It's not. I mean, there's a decline going on. We are maybe not in a depression, but we are in something. There's no denying that, I think. When you step back and really look at the broad scope of stuff, the cost of goods, the availability of supplies, I don't know how many people are, we haven't talked too much about the labor situation, but I've been the hiring manager for a couple of years now through the pandemic and stuff, and there have been multiple awful times to be hiring, and that's just in the retail space. This goes all the way through every industry. I mean, professional fields, highly skilled, specialized trades are not able to fill jobs. And these are all, being caused by different things. The system is not working the way that it should. And there's 1,000 wrenches being thrown into 1,000 different subsystems. So yeah, we may not be actually arbitrarily in a depression, but if you can step back and say that everything's working the way it should and we can just calmly and confidently not worry about it, then I think that you're not paying enough attention. So I think every alarm bell should be going off as to, can't we just sit back and expect America to just be America without any concern?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we've talked about all the ins and outs before of how bad, it could get, how, least case sort of scenario, worst case. I mean, we had that kind of discussion with you even when you were on the show the last
time. A couple things here real quick from, so Brian Manuel says, if Putin had not done this, Trump would have done it. You think it's not so, but I can price your butts wrong. You did not let Trump back in because he was going to go after the Ukraine. An interesting thought. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, I mean, the guy does always have some interesting thoughts that he puts out there. So then he says that was the entire phone call Trump made to the damn man that the Democrats made a big damn deal of. That's an interesting thought. I wouldn't have ever thought that would actually be a thing, because he's the man that always says they started no new wars. So I mean, if he would have actually gone in, on his account, he would have been totally, would have been opposite of what we're.
Well, I mean, is he talking
now.
Militarily, or what would he go after?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. It would have been opposite. Would have been more of a diplomacy type style thing or whatever, where he would have gone in and he would have said, this is what you need to do, and you just do it, because he's such a businessman. He can actually pull some strings a little bit differently. It was that the reason why Putin waited as long as he did, and he didn't in the 4 years that Trump was actually in office. And there's plenty of thoughts to actually think about when it comes down to it, and everybody's got some interesting takes on things, and you really have to kind of take it the way it is. Meme Copian says Trump was going to invade Ukraine. What for? Another wife? I mean, as far as that goes, we don't know.
Oh, none of his wives was from Ukraine. I don't know. Anyway.
Very interesting thought. I thought he had something else in there. Oh, he did. It got blocked. It's not over on the Restream side or the StreamYard side. It's actually, I'm just one person. I'm just a person, only one that can take, can't even talk here. I'm going to bed. Screw this censorship. What the fuck are we even doing here if we can't talk with the controversial conversation concerning? Dang. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's actually happening. If somebody's actually trying to tell you not to speak or whatever, if that's the case, you just speak your mind, bro. You have all right to actually say what you feel, how you feel.
Oh, where are you reading that?
Like I said, it come across on the, but it for short, so then it didn't actually jump over into the StreamYard side. It actually just stayed over there.
Stayed where?
Momentum Mari says, I doubt if Trump. It's only on the YouTube side. It did not get brought over into the StreamYard side.
Oh, you were breaking up on my end. I don't know if that was.
So then Memento Mori says, I doubt if Trump wanted to invade anywhere. He's more about withdrawing U.S. foreign entanglements. Yeah, I mean, he got, 4 different, Nobel Peace Prize nominations for his keeping himself out of wars and not creating new ones. So, I mean, as far as that goes, it's there's a lot of interesting thoughts to go along with all this. Phil says the whole 18 months has been about making Democrats stealing taxpayer cash, and it still is. It's effing sickening to watch it happen. It's disgusting what we're actually watching and what we're actually seeing. How many bills they're signing for how many billions and billions and billions of dollars for so many stupid things. We're not going to see a penny. So there's Brian again. Yes, Trump was going to take down Ukrainian politically, expose them, and Democrats. He would have taken the right way. That's an interesting thought. I mean, it really seriously is. I guess I never even would have thought about it going that way. That he would have actually moved himself to do that. So.
Yeah, I mean, we all know from the laptop scandal that there's a lot of corrupt ties to Ukraine from a couple different people, Biden, Clintons, and stuff. So, if this hadn't happened, if Trump had been in, and I do see that as totally being possible that he, tried to, because corrupt places like that are corrupt both ways, and a man like Trump with money could easily buy information in a country like that to expose that kind of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised in the least if that was a political maneuver.
There's a reason that I actually removed the comment after I accepted it, Brian, because of what it actually said. So it says Democrats are putting let Putin go in there. Then my screen jumps. Let Putin go in there to war and look at the money they are graping from the people on both sides. So there's one word in there that is the reason that I got retaken out of the YouTube side, because YouTube side doesn't like that particular word. Try using some strange different words if you can. It's just the way it is. YouTube's very picky, and yep, exactly. Divinity, grapes are poison. Momentum. I was on Leave in Hungary once, and I was wandering around lost in Budapest. Suddenly, there were smoking hot women everywhere. I was just frozen in place in awe. Interesting.
Oh, I was going to mention in regards to the money. I'm sure that every person has heard this by now, but at the end of the pandemic, there was a little bit of info going around that out of every American dollar, digital and paper that exists, 60% of it was printed or produced during the pandemic. So all the money that existed in the American, that was made and held overseas, period, before the pandemic is now, and even less now, but was at the time 40% of the existing supply, because 60% of that existing supply had been made, printed up, or digitally printed in the past couple of years. And that was before the last couple of infusions.
I think we need to get a hold of Salty Cracker and relieve a bunch of us of our thoughts about needing a YouTube dictionary and have him actually write that up, because the only person that would know better than any would be Salty Cracker on what you can and can't say.
Indeed.
And
What we
let's
need,
get him to actually do that for us so that we all know what we can and can't say.
no, what
Go
we
ahead.
need is one of those voice changer apps, but it actually is like a translator app, and so you just talk and say your real thoughts, and it either completely like deletes part of it that can't be said, or translates it into the acceptable terminology.
No, I don't want my words deleted there. Prepping.
Well, I mean, if you just say a sentence and the app, the AI inside the computer is just like, I can't do anything for that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's like
prepping's a
you
fed.
use-
No, I'm
you
just kidding.
use- you use too many buzzwords.
I think that one's okay, Brian. So I doubt it's going to be actually
So
on
this is
side
the
of
real
it.
voice of Ray Epps. No, I'm just kidding. Allegedly. Because we all love Ray Epps here, by the way. Love him to death.
Brian said he said something to I don't really know exactly what was said to him because I'm like scrolling through and I'm not seeing it. So then he says, that's the point. Trump is an opportunist. Yes, he would have exposed the democratized, capitalized, and capitalized on that. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not going to say the next set of words, and that's the reason that it was removed. They're killing us now. It's pretty much taking away our thoughts and our free speech. That's actually killing us, and yeah, it's very interesting. You think Trump would have let us let this much damn money go or go there in that matter? My goodness, think about it. 70% of the damn money is going into Europe, actually, not Ukraine. Well, it's going to each one of those countries to actually, their UN securities. So, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, it's everywhere. It's not just going into one country. It's getting spread through thoroughly across all the countries of Europe, and we're all paying for it dearly out of our pockets.
Goody.
People don't. There's so many that just do like, oh, it's fine. He can write out how many billions and billions and trillions of dollars that he wants, and it's not true. There's no way. There's no way that we can continue to handle that. Did you have a thought, AmericaShirts?
Not really.
Not really.
I was looking at this article that Jack Pacific threw up about. Says that Poland's central bank chief warns of German designs on Polish territory. Says that it's sees a danger not in worsening economic stats, but rather by a plot in Berlin and Brussels to take part of Poland. Interesting. I haven't read through all of it yet, but he just posted it not too long ago.
Interesting. I was trying to wait out the clock for a specific mark in time before I actually moved the article because of what it kind of pertains to. I was trying to actually save us. I was trying to hope that we could go another 11 minutes because of what
That's
it
what she
is.
said.
Yeah, well, let's see. I
Sorry,
agree, Brian.
just hang
Trump would have never let this much money go at all, ever. Period. Nonstop. Yeah, I agree. I agree so much, Brian. I really do. I don't think actually allowed what's actually happening to happen. He wouldn't have allowed all these bills to go through. He would have vetoed them with his pen at the end if you needed to. As far as that goes, I'll talk to you as soon as the show's over. As far as that goes, this was all planned to happen when Hillary won, and mail-in system was not in place to potato win at that time. Yeah,
Allegedly.
yeah, allegedly.
Oh, this is on the Tucker Carlson show this time, not on Twitter.
I must say, I feel sorry for it. Turns out American voters are harder to deal with than Iraqi civilians. You can't just drone them to death. You have to obey them. Oh, it's so great. This is Liz Cheney Day in my house. Victor Day. I must say, I feel sorry for it. Turns out American voters are harder to deal with than Iraqi civilians. You can't just drone them to death. You have to obey them.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
The meme is on cable news now, ladies and gentlemen.
So there's an interesting thought for you from Trucker John. He says, yeah, because Trump couldn't get anything done except cut taxes on the ultra rich. I would disagree with you to the point of actually pulling up of things that he's actually done. It's quite lengthy. We actually there was where was that? Where did we? There was Officer Tatum. Officer Tatum. We just watched him the other day. He actually was watching a young lady. Is that in my Discord? We can pull up that real quick and we can go through the stuff that Trump had actually done. It's very interesting. Is that in live show? Yes, this one here.
I think Trucker is right to a specific point. Maybe it's even what he meant. He was only allowed, the only thing that he did that was left uncontested was tax cuts for the ultra rich. Every single other thing he did was heavily contested or has been undone. But I mean, just imagine the situation we would have been in if we had a president who wasn't fought at every turn. I mean, I'm always reminded of the fact that he walked over into North Korea, which is something that hasn't been done since the war started. I mean, it hasn't been allowed to lead to anything, but that's monumental. He did multiple things that, even though they didn't lead anywhere, were monumental and groundbreaking. So just the fact that he shook hands with Kim and walked across the DMZ line, that's something that has not been done and could have been turned into something great if he wasn't facing complete domestic sabotage at home.
Right.
So whether or not you like the guy, you have
I'm
to
gonna
admit
hit the play button on this real quick because we don't need to watch the whole thing. Just a couple of lines that come out of
Imagine
her.
if President Trump would have sent the FBI to raid Barack Obama's personal residence. Just picture that for a moment. They would have called him a dictator. Oh, wait, they called him that anyway. Could someone remind me of literally anything Trump did to be considered a dictator?
Who is this woman? She's off the chain after you listen. If you think she's done, put a 2. I'm guaranteeing most of y'all gonna put a 1. She obliterates the liberal agenda and the mentality and the talking points. I have never seen anybody methodically explain Trump's accomplishments to the T in a minute and 38 seconds. Don't listen to me. Y'all don't listen to me. Listen to what this woman said. Wrote a film.
I can't take credit for this, but someone on Telegram shared this rant, and it's brilliant. Imagine if President Trump would have sent the FBI to raid Barack Obama's personal residence. Just picture that for a moment. They would have called him a dictator. Oh, wait, they called him that anyway. Could someone remind me of literally anything Trump did to be considered a dictator? Was it lowering taxes, cutting regulations, ending wars, bringing troops home, lowering funding to NATO, the UN, the WHO, opportunity zone programs for impoverished neighborhoods, giving low-level nonviolent inmates a second chance, fixing mandatory minimums, launching a worldwide effort to stop persecution of gays, deporting MS-13, protecting our borders, crusading against human and child trafficking, bringing back manufacturing facilities, evening out our suspiciously lopsided trade tariffs, getting our soldiers' remains back from North Korea, getting terminal patients the right to try, record highs in our stock market, getting big pharma to match low prices abroad, reaching energy independence, brokering peace deals all over the Middle East, record low unemployment, keeping gas and inflation major.
That's all I need to show you, because really the rest of it's just, Tatum actually going off and saying, geez, look at the stuff that this woman actually says. This is the stuff that he actually did do. And there's written actual form from the White House that actually shows everything that he had actually done in a full 2-page list, with dots next to each one of them. Seriously, there's so much done for us, and the ridiculousness of this country to think that he did absolutely nothing is the worst thing that I've ever heard. Here you go, Brian. If you tax the companies to damn death and you want to work the people, if you tax the damn people, then you want to work at all. What the fuck are you thinking? Trump done right, and right by us, and to his own benefit. 450 miles border wall. There's Memento Mori. He had really fight to get that much built because the traitors Democrats fought tooth and nail on it. And that's pretty much what it comes down to, is this lady actually seriously, lists off, and she even says, it's not her list. She didn't make it. She just read it off of somebody that put it in Telegram. And I mean, I can go and find the list. We go read through the whole list tomorrow if you really want to. It could be very interesting to actually listen to. That's funny. Let's talk about prepping. I love it. What would you define as a raid? In my town, 4 guys busting into a drug house is a raid. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to. That's what it was. Just because the mainstream media says, oh no, it wasn't a raid, and they're going to go along and they're going to say, let's change the words on it to make it mean anything other than that, is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to need to start calling fraternity panty raids like panty search and seizures? I mean, raid is a colloquial term. I mean, I just looked it up online. Technically, the dictionary calls it a military practice, but then we just need to stop calling anything a raid that the police do, because they're not doing
a military practice. So them with badges and guns doesn't make it a military practice, because whatever, that's what they use.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if we're going to say, well, police did it, so technically it's a legal procedure, then we can just never use the word raid. Police officers conducted a drug raid on the block of 23rd last night. Oh, no, they didn't. They conducted a drug seizure. I mean, it's a raid. Let's not pick hairs just because it helps the debate. It's if we want to start redefining things for the sake of a conversation, then we're going to have to start going through the entire English language and stop calling things raids. The main problem with this whole thing, no matter the legality of it, is the appearance of it. If they'd done things right, then the vast majority of the right wing would not feel like this was,
I mean, why not rename it anyway? Redefine every other word, all the way these whole 18 months of Dumblecrats running shit. They've done nothing but change the definitions of words.
Right. Well, here, real quick.
What's a woman?
Right.
And let's change that, because it doesn't make sense anymore for the dictionary to tell us exactly what it means.
Yeah, and to respond to what Trucker John said, I think it sort of speaks to what I was saying. They did, yeah, even if they had a legal right there to be there with a warrant, no matter how questionable that is, and we could talk about that, but putting that aside, it's not us calling it a raid to present an image that we're trying to present. What I was saying was, if any person, I mean, I'm a regular dude. I'm not a professional who's trained in doing search and seizures on presidents. But if someone had texted me and said, hey, I'm the head of the FBI and we're about to raid President Trump, any thoughts before we go in? I would have called him and said, hey, you need to have somebody doing a press conference at the same time, presenting all of the reasons that you're doing this. And no matter how legal it is, you need to say, here's the affidavit, here's the warrant. At this moment, officers are conducting a raid on the former President Trump's house for these reasons. It may seem extremely suspicious, but here are the very legal reasons why. And here are three third party unbiased arbitrary experts, including the rule maker for the Senate or the Congress and all these different things. And here's someone from the UN saying, we have looked over this to make sure that there's no impropriety. If this had been done in a different country, the UN would be in there investigating it. And we're just supposed to say, we're the ones making this look bad by calling it a raid. No, if you had really cared and
unarmed,
been
huh?
responsible.
That looks
Yeah,
like
if
he's
you'd been-
armed. Oh, that one looks like he's armed as well. But yeah, unarmed. Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was handled as irresponsibly as possible if you were the least bit concerned for what it would look like to half of the country. But they weren't. They wanted it to, to be shocking and scandalous. If they had not wanted it to come out this way, they would have done something differently. But the way that people learned about it,
and I make that argument, and others have made that argument as well, that they didn't really want this to come out. The way in which they handled it and the way in which they did it throughout the day, they took a whole 9 hours or more, and they didn't call anybody, they didn't contact anybody. They came in, they weren't even fully decked out, except for those couple of people there. Like, everybody else was pretty well plain clothed. I mean, they didn't want anyone to really know about it. And what they told the lawyer, Christina Bobb, was that, like, hey, I mean, can we kind of keep this on? Basically, that was the vibe that she got. And Jack Pacific was talking about that because he had talked to her personally, because they know each other, because they used to work at the same network together. And she's the lawyer that was there. And she said that the vibe was like, we're not really going to talk about this, right? Because, like, you're not really supposed to be here, Like, they just wanted to go in and go out. Like, that's all they didn't want anything flashing. They didn't want the flashing lights. The flashing lights that were there were the local police that were called afterwards. The FBI didn't have flashing lights. They just flashed a word in front of the Secret Service people there, and they just opened the gates and let them go in, and they just walked through and did whatever the hell they wanted. And so, from my perspective, from everything that I have looked at and everything that I've seen from this and all the different things that have come out, I don't think they wanted anybody to know about this. I think this is blown up in their damn faces. I don't think they wanted shock and awe, because if they wanted shock and awe, they would have called up CNN like they did with Roger Stone, and they would have been like, hey, we're raiding Trump's house. Come here, right? Like, they would have called the media, and they didn't call anybody. They were there for like the entire day, and it wasn't until dark before anybody figured out what the hell was going on.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to suggest that they were doing this to be a scandalous thing. I think that whoever did, I think that someone in the FBI did this, and I think a lot of the left is pissed about it because after Roe vs. Wade, they had a lot going for them to bring people out in the midterms, and this has completely destroyed that with how many people are pissed off and coming out to vote on the right because of this. So that I think that this is actually a huge pebble in the water for the left, not a 4D chess move at all. But I think to those people, they whoever pulled the trigger on this thought, anything that hurts Trump bad. But so far as I do think that.
Not trying to put you on the spot or anything.
Oh, no. I realized as I said it, I wasn't trying to say that this was a strategically considered move in the big picture. I think that someone thought it was a good idea on their part, but didn't run it. I think that it was done without, proper approval from all the way up the ladder, whoever's up there, But I do think that the optics of it, no matter how it came out, it's, the fact that Trump tweeting it was how people started learning about it. That is not controlling the situation on the part of whoever, the left, whoever's supposed to be controlling it. You're not controlling the optics. It's very clear that this is, they're behind the ball on this one way or the other when it comes to not, this is, again, this, if they wanted to piss off the right, then they did. But I don't think that they, really did this to play it off as well as they could have. They, again, I mean, if the best, if they meant for this to happen, it's because they wanted to piss off as many people as possible and make this look as improper as possible. Anybody can tell you if you wanted to do this and make it look like it was on the up and up, you didn't do any of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no. To be honest, in my opinion, there's no way for this to look on the up and up. I mean, there's no way for any of this to look at all of the up and up. I mean, good God. But I would suggest to Trucker John, that he go back and listen.
Guy. He really, I mean, I went and I was sitting in his show the other day or whatever. I mean, he's a nice guy as far as that goes.
Well,
it's not there's anything wrong with the guy. No.
Well,
right.
I would suggest to go back and listening to the last Wednesday, was it, that I went over everything about this whole debacle? Yeah. Go back and listen to that. And again, I have corrected myself a little bit. I did say like guns a-blazing at one point, but that's not true. They were plainclothes and they were there the whole day, 9 hours, and they didn't want to be seen. So
I just wanted to know that we're not picking on him. We're not actually, chewing his words to pieces, whatever, because, he has the right to think and feel the way he does and have his own opinions. We're not, we're not contesting that in any way, shape, or form. I just want him to realize that that's the case. This is that, that just so happened to be the interesting stuff that was coming through that gave us, the context for us to actually say, so just
and if I feel like people are piling on, I tend to sit the round out. It's just he happened to be what we're talking verbally instead of in the chat. So, but no, I understand where he's coming from, and it's good to have multiple perspectives on a thing. And he's actually, I think, factually right about pretty much everything he's saying. It was a legal raid. I wouldn't be surprised actually if the Secret Service said absolutely nobody else comes armed into this space, you'll be fine, we're here. And maybe the FBI probably would respect the Secret Service's jurisdiction, because if anybody was to jail Trump, it would be the Secret Service. So
right.
I'm not factually disagreeing with anything he says. I'm just saying that when it comes to using the word raid and us trying to paint a picture, I would argue are sort of running with the picture as it was sort of presented to us. It's hard not to look at this and say, oh, well, it's like Koolfrogg said, there's almost no way, or I'm sorry, Shirts maybe, but there's almost no way to have presented this without it looking extremely suspicious. I think the only way would have been to have,
not said anything at all.
What's that? Oh, okay. Sorry,
not said anything at all. They could have gone that far and actually just said anything, not not broadcasted that actually happened.
Right. I'm just saying, like, you would have had to have the utmost transparency and had Rudy Giuliani come up there at the press conference and say, "Hey guys, I've looked this over, and damn, I don't like it, but it's a legal search," or something like that. That's the only.
And then after that, they would have handcuffed him and dragged him away because they hate his guts.
Right.
It's like, yeah. It's like I'm totally not here against my will. I'm totally here.
Exactly.
I mean, like, there's no way.
Yeah, but you understand my point. There's potentially, they could have at least made an effort and done a press conference and said, we know you won't believe us, but here's what we're going to show you. They just did it, and like you were saying, hoped that maybe hoped it would go quietly or whatever. But there's been no effort to assuage anybody. In fact, it's it's only been the cause for more. They've been talking about, now we're all terrorists because of this. If you don't like it, it's because you're about to go attack a building, or something like that. So it's only been the cause for more division than anything. So far from, it's not the right who's trying to misportray this. It's the left who's using it as more catalyst to prod the right and then cry victim whenever the right, shifts or reacts to being poked.
Real quick, I actually kind of deleted the comment first, and I went and I hit it and I unhit it because I'm like, I didn't mean to hide it. It didn't actually come through for us to actually see it on this side. But Mike Gohagan says left, right, that's been destroying this country for decades has either one made one thing better. I mean, it's there. Two wings on a bird is basically what it comes down to. They're both fly the same direction. They both do the same crap all over and over again.
Was there something
Looks like
else you wanted
Brian's
to pull up, or is that-
asking for a kinky linky. What's that?
Was there something else you wanted to pull up over the 2-hour mark, or did you already do that?
Yeah, we did pass that, by the way.
No, yeah, we did pass that. I was going to go to that. It looks like Brian has some thoughts that he wants to share with us. What do you guys feel about that?
Well, I was kind of wanting to hit the sack a little earlier today myself.
Okay, so let's Brian, let's
No
talk about
offense,
this.
just-
No, right, no offense. Let's talk about the conversation tomorrow, and we can see if we
Obviously.
can include you tomorrow if you're interested. We can cover some other things as well, because every day changes. I hear you, Madcore. I hear you, bud. We'll talk about that. We'll hold a conversation and see what we can do. So this one, blistering CDC report says that the agency cannot go on like this. It's too slow, not diverse, and not very good for giving public health advice. Oh, you don't say.
The freaking CDC director. She's like, how about we stop writing papers and start giving people good public health advice? Oh my God. It's like, wow. But hey, wear your mask, little dear. It's fine. She's just bitching at everybody to stop giving bad advice.
Right. She's just straight out quit giving bad advice. Quit telling people that they need to do
Oh my God.
what they're actually doing, and they need to actually think about what they're actually throwing out to the public. It isn't diverse leadership struggles with retention and top talent, and is generally too stuffy and elite, not as focused as it should be on health equity and clear, actionable guidance to help Americans through health crises. So,
Oh my God. I mean, in the process of trying to destroy America, they're actually destroying themselves. Like, what the hell?
Completely demented crap. Yep. Good one, Phil. That's awesome.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I should make a t-shirt.
I told you we were going to talk about a couple 3-letter organizations, and I was hoping that it was going to take us to, to that 2-hour mark before I got to it. So
demented crap.
Right? Exactly. So really on the here, so we're going to kind of actually hit on some of these. So this is Arizona builds its own border wall in the coolest way possible. Look at that. Look at all these shipping containers all stacked on top of each other, up and down, because,
the left's going to be like, that's where everything went. That's why our shipping's bad. It's those freaking people that want to build the wall.
It's all
No,
stuck
these are
inside
actually-
those containers.
These are actually really cheap because
they are.
You need to be buying stuff from China in order to ship the empty containers over to China. And if we're not bringing, if there's a supply and whatever shipping collapse, basically, there's a bunch of these that aren't getting sent back to China to get filled up. So they're actually, last I heard, very affordable, especially because they're a commodity and not an end user product. So you can throw these in the desert and then sell them again back to the shipping companies later.
Or stay here. We'll get, I'm sorry we're not entertaining enough for you at the moment, Madcore. We'll try moving on with some stuff here.
I know when I said I wanted to leave a little bit earlier than usual, or not usual, but like I wanted to leave a little bit earlier this evening. He said no. That wouldn't entertain me. I'm at work.
Phil says you can drive across the top on 4-wheelers with AR-15s too.
Absolutely. So, Arizona recently its own wall to fill the gaps along the Yuma sector of the southern border. It is truly innovative solution to mitigate the ongoing crises. The state is using stacked storage containers welded together to barricade the open areas of efficient manner. Work began almost immediately on the project after Republican Governor Doug Ducey announced it, and the progress made within days is visually stunning. And you can kind of see how long these sectors are or whatever. You can see them actually building bits and pieces. Of course, you can't view it over here. You got to go over to the Twitter side of things to actually see most of it. Before and after photos came just 3 days after original announcement. You can actually see that there was absolutely nothing. And then they went and they built this big, huge, glamorous wall right along that southern border for us. And it took 3 days, it says, so it's like, it didn't happen overnight. It took them a little bit of time to actually position this stuff and actually make it look like a legitimate wall. Now that's called getting things done. It's pretty cool when you actually.
It's such quick work. I mean, when you think about like a proper wall, the ones that they were doing, you're driving pilings into the ground, you're laying concrete around the pilings. Like this is, you can
waiting
do this
for the
with
concrete to dry, doing the next
Right.
section, coming back to that section to build up the
Right.
Exactly.
With-
Lots of processes that go along with doing that.
Right. With specialized licensed contractors, you could pay like 16-year-old guys with backhoes to do this stuff and they'll do it right. You know what I mean? This is quick,
Right.
easy, slap it together and it looks fine. It
We
gets the
all
job
do
done.
know what this is for, though, right? I mean,
Good night,
Doug
Trucker
Ducey,
John. Have a good night. Sleep well.
He doesn't do jack shit until just now he decides to do this. Like, what the hell? If it's this cheap, why the hell didn't he do this before? It's because Carrie Lake has said she's going to build a border wall. So the rhinos are trying to be like, oh, see, we did it first. You don't do anything. Like, that's what this is for. Like, trust me. That's exactly what this horse shit's for. Because she was going to actually build like an actual wall. Like, she just wasn't going to do this. Like, she was going to like legit wall stuff. Like legit, like, not just shipping containers. She was going to she's going to go full blown. Like,
Well, pretty soon it's going to be keeping Americans in. I don't know if we talked about this here, but actually I saw an article that Mexico is starting to complain about Americans who are moving there because they are working remotely over the internet, so they can make American money and live anywhere. So they're going to like small Mexican towns and buying up huge amounts of land and stuff. And so there's actually starting to be a reversal of Americans moving down to Mexico and them complaining about it. So might see a reversal of border control in some ways.
And you can see that they have all this constructed. This is the border wall that was, intended to be there. And you can see they went in the big open area that they actually want to actually, barricade out. So then they actually took and you can see the starts of it. So they're hauling in truckloads of empty containers and piling them up. They're doing.
And again, like I said, I love how this guy's been governor for how goddamn long. And now, only now, after Carrie Lake wins and she wins in this midterm thing, does he now act this way and actually start the damn thing up? Like, why the hell didn't you do this before? Like, why the hell didn't you go like, oh, hey, Trump, I like you. Let's put up this thing here. I have a grand idea. Let's do this with these things. And then whenever you get done with the wall, we'll kind of like shift those out of the way and then you can put the wall in place just so we have a barrier there. Like, why the hell didn't he do that before? Oh, because he's trying to interfere with this next election because he's a rhino piece of shit. And he thinks that, and again, I don't need to necessarily dismiss everything you people have said, but I mean, these are still things that can be, drilled through or not drilled through. I mean, like they've used plasma torches, like the drug cartel people, like they used plasma torches before. They've cut holes and different things they put up on the border before, and they just cut holes and they just drive things right through. So I mean, it's not the most permanent of structures, to be perfectly honest.
It's easily it's not exactly no wall is perfectly defeatable, but the point is to create a barrier, like Phil said. It gives if they were to simply let local people go hang out on top, that a wall is the first thing that you need to be able to enforce a thing. It is not the last thing by any means. Yeah.
Right.
But you gotta draw that line in the sand some way. And
I like Phil's comment. Get this, later you could pump concrete into the sides and make them huge concrete blocks. That'd be very
honestly,
interesting.
I mean, I'm always for a nice economic way. I mean, you could even take the tops off of them and put spike pits in them or something like that. You could pay local 16-year-olds to do it. I never felt like we needed to. Yeah. Well, I never felt like we needed to do, I mean, even just digging a trench or whatever, we never needed to do this. Like I said, bonded, licensed, insured, 100,000 dollars per 10-foot section kind of wall. I mean, if shipping containers is a great option, if you sort of, build a moat in front of it, make it hard, and then patrol it, I like a quick, efficient, and cheap option that, gets the job done. But yeah, I mean, it was only ever going to be part of a comprehensive border policy.
So then this is the reason that I have a feeling, some of that actually finally came to play was Biden's border crisis. It says 2 million migrant encounters recorded as a fiscal year 2022. Just below it says 1.946. Obviously, that's gonna take little to no time for them to actually get to the 2 million that they're actually speaking of in the headline. It says over the past year and a half, the crisis at the southern border has gotten progressively worse, with 1.7 million migrant encounters year 2021, more than ever before. New data from Customs and Borders Protection show that fiscal year 2022 is the pace to break the previous record. CBP said on Monday that in August, as of August, they're 1.946. So that's why they're by fiscal year 2022. By the end of the year, you'd actually see the 2 million. So how close are we to the end of the year? Really, we're getting really close. We're getting, if they're only projecting to have 2 million. Hopefully some of this kind of starts slowing some of it down. And again, like these guys have already said, you still have to, patrol that. You can't just leave it, okay, no, we put up a wall, it's all good. No, you still have to patrol it. You still have to pay attention to it. It's only a deterrent to slow people down and bring them to certain areas where they're
right.
like, okay,
And
I can no
use
cross
a
right there
ladder
because
and
there's a big, huge obstacle in my way. I'm going to go down the ways, where
right. And they just put up a ladder. I mean, they've put up ladders before, and they just put up the thing, like they've put up stupid other border fair. I mean, like if you know anything about how they've done crap with some of these border places, I mean, they've put up weird looking fence things. They've put up different stuff, and they just put up a ladder and they just climb right over the top of the damn thing, and they just jump right off the side, or they put another ladder back down. I mean, there's a reason why Trump's wall is specifically designed the way that it is. It's because it is supposed to not only deter, but I mean, the thing is so tall, it would be ridiculous to try to climb it. You can't put exactly a ladder over top of it. The steel is made in a diamond shape, so you can see through it, but yet someone can't, shimmy their way inside of it. And it's thicker steel, so it's much harder to actually blowtorch your way through that kind of a thing. And then, of course, you still have to patrol that as well. But again, there's a reason why they had all these designs and different things of like what would work best. Because I mean, like, you don't want to have like freaking spike pits and like alligators for like,
No.
people wanting to come. Like, that's very ridiculous. Like, there's a reason why these things were made the way that they were, and why it took a while for him to even plan this out, because he wanted to talk to those people down there, the Border Patrol people, wanted to talk to other different people and see like what would be the best design. So you wouldn't have to go back and do it again. You would put it up and then you would paint it and you would put a sealant on it, and so that way it wouldn't rust, and then you'd have a nice looking barrier that wouldn't be, weirdly evil looking or like intimidating in that kind of a way, but it would still work effectively, and then you could still see literally see the other side to see what's going on. So that way, but it wouldn't be able that anybody could come through it unless they really, 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 really tried hard enough to, when nobody else was around. And that, again, every border obstacle obviously needs to have some amount of patrolling. And so that's my critique of this whole thing with that, because it's like, that's very, again, this is all a political thing for the rhinos to go after Carrie Lake, so she doesn't have anything to run on here in the general election. And then, look, and then there you go. So that's what that's about. She was going to go ahead with that same kind of design and thing and really put that to work. So, but anyways, that's my view.
One thing that's always bugged me is the fact that we sort of are using this, this like wall policy. There's obviously some kind of interest on both sides of the aisle in Mexico, for Mexico being the way it is, because we don't really talk about, and I'm not trying to be mean to Mexico or the people of Mexico, but
screw you. No, just kidding.
Well, it's a shithole there. Unironically, it's allowed that the cartels run so much of it.
Oh yeah,
and
I forgot to even mention this. I completely thank you for saying something, because there is a full-blown drug cartel war going on down there. Like they're openly now going into civilian areas and just like blowing up stores, because there are several cartel heads that the Mexican government has actually gone ahead and said, no, we're going to prosecute you. And they're actually charging them with domestic terrorism and being domestic terrorists and like all this crap. I don't know how the hell they got that brave, but somewhere along the line they did. And now the drug lords are literally putting out their soldiers, and there's like full blown like gun battles.
Well, they're taking over cities. They've always controlled whole cities. It's a human rights violation all around. And just from that perspective alone, it's amazing that something hasn't been done to help the people. But
there's gang violence, but now it's a literal war. Like, they've put in the National Guard. Like, they have the Mexican soldiers are there. Like, there's full blown gun battles. Like, it's holy hell.
That's just starting to acknowledge the problem. It really is that quietly, we've all known it, but the corruption in Mexico has always been that in different areas, it's known that the cartel is simply the government. And so part of the reason that people skip right across Mexico to get here is because there is nowhere to be found to be. So a lot of our problem is that there is nowhere south of America, south of the US, that is hospitable between these people's places of, where they're originally fleeing from and here. A lot of
but yet all these lefties in California are moving there.
Well, to a certain degree.
Please go. Don't go to Arizona. If you're a lefty, just go down to Mexico.
Well, to a certain degree, unironically, like a good policy would have been to, not gentrify Mexico, but to infuse it, to lift it up to where it became, who wants to have an impoverished nation be their neighbor? It's in our best interest to make Mexico flourish. And it's obvious that somebody...
Now, Ukraine counts first. If you look at the flag, you will see all of the rainbows, and then you will see black and Hispanic, and then it's a little bit controversial, but I think most people are accepting of it now. There's the Ukraine colors there, okay? Now that's the current thing. Ukraine is we have to charge Ukraine. Forget about us, forget about our border. It is Ukraine's borders that are the only borders that matter in the world at this point. So just so we're clear for all of our Liz Cheney friends out there, we support the current thing.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, imagine, we could create a situation where, we don't really have a problem with Canadians coming down into America in the same way, because it's, in much the same way that European
except for
countries...
Viva Fry. I don't know how the hell he slimmed by. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I've lived on the border. I've lived on the border with Canada, and we have problems with Canadians coming down. But I mean, just imagine a world where Mexico was a thriving first world country, and there was, you know, a different kind of economic exchange going on, and it was, you know, the same as, you know, we were all just going back and forth, and people who were trying to flee, you know, Latin American countries, they found themselves in Mexico, and there was plenty of opportunity for them there. You know, that's a much better border policy than, well, you know, Mexico, nobody wants to be there, but let's keep them there anyways. You know, it benefits everybody for us. I just never really understood why. I don't know. I don't know what America can do to make Mexico better, but we go into all these other countries under the guise of human rights violations and democratizing them, and then
Because
we
it's all
just allow the cartels.
bullshit. It's bullshit.
Right, exactly. And then we just allow the cartels
It's
to run Mexico, and
bullshit.
it's like, and North Korea is just like an entire country that's a concentration camp. But you know, we don't like the concentration camps that happened in World War II, but this whole country, you know, that's, I guess we'll just let that happen. You know, it's just always been a little back and forth, especially with Mexico right on our doorstep. You'd think we'd, you know, it'd be in our interest to have the entire North American continent be prosperous.
It's in the globalist interest to cause this kind of destabilization.
Exactly. Well, exactly. It's in their interest to have that on our doorstep where it creates the dynamic that exists. Yeah.
It did come over. It says, when the open southern border lets in the terrorists who attack the Democrats in D.C., just remember the Democrats let those terrorists in here. Because in that article, it actually does state, again, that the stay in Mexico policy has been removed. It's no longer a thing. And anybody that needs to go through a court system to be sure if they can actually stay here or not are already here. They're already here. They're not leaving them in, bringing them in slowly as they go through to make sure that they're all safe and everything's, you know, that they're actually here for good reasons. So, good point, Phil. Exactly. That article points that out over and over. You know, we've read this, you know, different things several times that pertain to the stay in Mexico orders that were removed by this current resident of the United States. So, yep. Keep that in mind,
resident?
folks. Yes, the resident.
The P resident.
Yeah, there's no P. There's no P.
Potatoes.
Oh yes, the P could stand for a great many a thing, but yes, potato might be one. The other one might be a little more childish / vulgar term for feces. And anyway,
so I mean,
but tomorrow I will definitely. There is a new Savannah Hernandez report about stuff for the border, and then of course there's the stuff like I said with the whole thing of them actually wanting to charge these people down there. They're actually getting some cojones and like seemingly wanting to go after the drug cartels, and now the drug cartels are like, you're not going anywhere. That's so they're going crazy. So I will have to bring that up tomorrow. I completely forgot about that. And then of course Savannah Hernandez has another
throw an article at me so I don't
across the
forget
border
that you
and
actually
things,
want to do that. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
throw an article and show set it for me so I can it's there so I don't forget when I finally get the chance to actually do work tomorrow and actually have articles ready for it. Prepping, you good? You ready to go?
I am good to go. Thanks for having me on, and let me chat with you guys.
Absolutely.
But let me just plug one more time to everybody, since that's my gig. Is just
I was just gonna say, you want to go ahead and you want to show yourself out one more time for me.
I mean, everybody knows where to find me. Watch out for new stuff there, because I am putting together some stuff to help people who are getting into prepping or just wanting another look at it. But mostly, I always like to remind people to do the basics of prepping. You know, one thing that's not as fun, but fitness. You know, not just fitness pizza in your mouth, but you know, doing everybody's at a different point of their physical fitness, but do something.
Just simply, if you can, go for a daily walk.
Yeah, or if you know, or stand a little longer than you normally would, and if you're a little more active than being more active. But no matter what situation, I mean, even if there is never a situation,
Lift thine self off from thine rear.
yes, exactly. Taking care of your health is always going to make you live longer if nothing else happens. But aside from that, put some water aside, put some food aside, save a little bit of money. Do a little bit for yourself to reinforce your lifestyle, make it so that fewer and fewer things can affect it. Anyways, that's my bit. Thanks for having me on tonight, and thanks to the chat.
Stick with us for a minute. And don't forget to actually check out AmericaShirtsAreFirst.com.
That is AmericaShirtsAreFirst.com, the most based shirts on the planet, of course, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I'm very happy I got my first order today. But you should totally go get yours too. It is the Abolish the FBI t-shirt is the newest one there. Go check that out. Join the movement there, people. And let's see if we can do this. Get rid of those angry bastards. Those vengeful freaks. Go get yourself one and join the movement. Let everybody else know that they're not alone. Let's do this. So go grab.
And of course, I'm Koolfrogg. If you want to support me immediately, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
My lord, dude. And Koolfrogg, if you want to support me immediately, go to buymeacoffee.com/Koolfrogg. If you want to support me any further, that doesn't work out for you, there is a PayPal link that's around. Make sure you check out my locals and my Rumble site. If you're going to check out my Rumble site, make sure that you actually check out America Shirts Rumble site, because his actually has
there we
detail
got there
on the Ukraine.
I do.
Yes. We got there.
We got there.
We'll have to
We're
work
gonna
on that
get
one
there
a little
when we
bit
get
more
there.
and see if we can't actually work that out together, feel that out a little bit better, as opposed to whenever I start, you jump in and we'll get that down one of these days. It'll just be super smooth and everybody will be like, oh, that was awesome.
Smooth.
All right. Later, everybody.
Classic.
Later, peeps.